Girls Society, the podcast where we, Jen and Sass, talk all things bookish, lifestyle, and navigating life in your 30s. Make sure you give us a follow on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at good.girls.pod, and be sure to follow us here on streaming services so you can listen to our latest episodes.
On today's episode, we are discussing the latest release from the cult favorite dark romance author, H.D. Carlton, Where's Molly? But before we get into the book, how's life, Sass?
Life is good. It was my birthday exactly a week ago when this goes live. So I'm
Yes.
34 years young.
Yes, you are.
Wild. I can't believe it came around so quickly this year. I think because I just don't celebrate my birthday ever. I was like, wow, it's my birthday in like 2 days. And it was good. I didn't do anything. I don't know if I've told you this before, but I never celebrate my birthday. It's just not a thing that I do. I think I've celebrated like 3 birthdays in my adult life, like actually physically done something. But this year I woke up to my best friend stomping into my room with a coffee and an almond croissant, and she was like, "Morning, happy birthday!" And I was like, and I slept through my alarm, so thank God she woke me up because I had to work.
Oh no.
So really lovely. Then I worked all day and people just sent me heaps of messages, and obviously you would have seen on my Instagram I was just like bombarded with love. I was like, this is so nice. I'm not used to being like this loved. I spoke
As
with my
you
parents.
should be.
I spoke with my parents. My dad, my biological dad, even messaged me, which is wild because he hasn't done that in a long time. But
Wow.
yeah, I got a message from him.
Okay.
Yeah, it was really nice. And then we had a chat. And then that night I went to bed a bit earlier, and yeah, it was really nice. Nice day.
Good. As long as you had a good day, that's all that matters.
Exactly. And how about you, Jen? What's going on?
Just trying to make it to the end of the school year. We have 11 Mondays left. Actually, when this goes live, there will be 10 Mondays left till summer. Yes. So hype.
Is it getting warmer where you are?
No, it's freezing. It was so cold today.
Bummer.
It like got really warm for a while and then it just got cold again and it hasn't gotten warm since. It's been raining a lot.
Okay.
So that's made it really cold, but I'm waiting for it because I'm tired of it. I mean, I'm always hot, so I'd rather it be cold, but like I'm ready to wear cute things like this. Like I don't want to, I don't want to be in hoodies anymore.
It gets to a certain point in the year, like for us, so when we go back into spring, like Melbourne doesn't get warm again until like December-ish. So like by the time, so we're still cold in October. So when we have Halloween, it's still really cold here. So it feels really like fun and spooky and like cozy.
As it should be.
Yeah, but then it doesn't get warm until December, and you're like, it's been spring for 2 months. Like, when is it going to get warm? And you just get so over it. I totally know what you mean. You're like, I want to wear dresses. I kind of want to feel the sun and the sweat on my skin.
Exactly. And I'm so used to, like, April always rains, and I know that, but I'm like, can it be just a little bit warmer? Like, it was like 50 today, and I'm like, come on, that's so, I mean, it's fine, but like, in the sun's great at 50, but like when there's nothing, it's like chilly and damp and you're just like, ugh, over it.
No, I totally feel you. It's the worst. And you guys are predominantly colder, aren't you? Like it's a colder climate, right?
It's so back and forth. Like we could have 80 degrees, 30 degrees, and 50 degrees in the same week, honestly, with the way. So
that sounds like
so back and forth.
It's the worst. I hate it.
Yeah.
You just like can't get a handle on it.
No.
Well, it's so nice to hear that by the time this episode goes live, you'll only have 10 Mondays left.
Yes. Yep. 10 Mondays. 11 as of right now, but 10 by the time this goes live. And that's very important to me.
Getting into the trigger warnings just to make sure you guys are taking care of your mental health, because today is a bit spicier. I do just want to discuss that we'll be discussing murder, gore, graphic language, graphic sexual situations, child assault and rape. Now, this isn't explicitly depicted, but we will be talking about it. So just really take care here. Toxic relations between main characters, suicidal thoughts and ideations, human trafficking, drug and alcohol use, and animals being fed suspect shit. Now that is what H.D. Carlton really put in her trigger warnings, but just so you know, it's pigs being fed human remains, so it's pretty gross.
That is how we dispose of bodies in this book. So the suspect shit is people.
It's all people.
Yes. But if you do not know what this book is about, the synopsis is that Where's Molly follows Molly Devereaux, one of the characters that we met on paper in Hunting Adeline. Molly is shown feeding dead people to her pet pigs. Lovely. The story follows Molly in her current day while switching to her life before and during the time that she was trafficked and sent to live in the house with Francesca. Molly meets Cage while starting fresh and preparing to move to Alaska. They share a night of passionate sex and don't meet again for another 12 years. When Cage is sent to complete a drop of bodies to Molly, he is shocked to find her back in North America. Although this story is short, it packs a lot of spice, and we do get to see our favorites at the end of this book. I have to say, I know we're going to talk about it, but I have to say I was really disappointed that we didn't get to see them until the epilogue.
Yeah. To be honest, I didn't really know that they were coming, and we spoke about this when I started reading it because I didn't realize, I think because I'd put Hunting out of my mind so far because it was so traumatic, I think that I forgot Molly was her name. And so when I started the book, I did not even put two and two together until I realized who she was. And I was like, oh God, the trauma of Hunting is coming back to me. So I found that a bit hard. But like with any H.D. Carlton book, like the very start is her feeding her pigs dead bodies. And I was like, all right, I know what I'm getting myself into. And like, I remember when we were introduced to Zaid and we got the squelch of the eye socket. Like, this was the same foul feeling. Like, the feeling of the pigs crunching on the bones and the splatter of the blood. I was like,
she did a pretty good job of making you feel that. Yeah.
So uncomfortable, right? But like, that's what you're setting yourself up for. And I think if you are a H.D. Carlton fan, you know that like you're going to be introduced to all these fucked up things, but you're also going to have a great time doing it.
Oh, yeah.
It's like in Harry Potter, you know, when he's like, you're going to suffer, but you're going to be happy about it.
Yeah.
That's like.
Yeah. So I knew going in that that's who it was because I remember when she kind of teased this book. She said it was in the universe. And I just was not disappointed, but I wanted more because I was like, I want Addie and Zaid, and I wanted there to be more of a connection.
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of felt like, now maybe it's a setup. Maybe this was kind of like it was short, so maybe this was like a novella to set up for the next piece. Because in the epilogue, it kind of does make it, I don't know how much we want to go into details because it is still pretty new, but it does kind of set it up like it could go into a whole nother section series of books with this. But I don't know, I just wanted more. I wanted more with them. And I kind of felt like, I don't know, maybe I did it to myself, but I kind of thought it was going to be more of like them trying to find her than her story.
Yeah.
But again, I clearly did that to myself because like that's not what she said it was going to be at all. But I guess like with the title of it, I just kind of assumed that's where it was going to go with Z finding people, them like working together to try to find her kind of a thing.
For sure. And I think that is like one of the dangers of having a universe that already exists. People are going to have these preconceptions of what your book is about. And I think as well, there was a lot of teasers for this, and even Hawk was involved. She did a few promos for it too. So I think we
And I
did.
love her, so I was like all for it.
I think we did have some conceptions of what we thought this book would be. Me, on the other hand, I literally don't research anything and go in blind every time I read a book, so I had no conceptions. I didn't even know who Molly was because I'm an idiot. So unfortunately, can't relate. But I do think we have very different ideas of what we thought of the book in general. Excites me because I feel like normally we're very on the same page, but I think our opinions are going to differ a lot on this one.
I think we are. So you
So
ready to jump into it?
yeah, so the characters are probably what I'm going to give people whiplash the most with. And I do want to state that this is no disrespect to the author, and I do mean this in a very clinical way, and I'm not coming from this from an emotional perspective. I really like H.D. Carlton's writing, and I still found this to be an incredibly fun book to read. So please don't take this as me bashing anything here, but I'm going to give you really high praise for one of the characters, and then I'm really going to bring you back down to earth with the other one. So, my girl Molly, incredible. One thing I really loved about Molly was that her story in present day is being told in her 30s. I'm pretty sure she's the same age as me when we're seeing her in present day. So, I've said this on my Instagram, and I've had a lot of people mention it to me too, that they are so sick of seeing the same like 19, 20, 21, 22 girl. They want to see someone who's a bit older and has some more life experience. And I think we got exactly that with Molly. She was a well fleshed out character who had so much depth and was so rich in experience and life and trauma, and she was just amazing. I think she was a nice change of pace from Addie and Sibby, like two very different. I haven't read Does It Hurt, so I can't tell you anything about that book, but I really, really enjoyed Molly. To experience the richness of her character and how developed it was an absolute delight. And I truly love reading about women in adulthood. That is just one thing that I have to say. I wish more authors would create women who are a little bit older, who have more life experience, because they have this depth that girls in their early 20s just don't currently have. And that's not to say there's anything wrong with being in your early 20s. I know people in their early 20s think they know everything. Trust me, you don't.
So did we. It's okay.
You get into your 30s and you go, oh, I don't know shit about anything. But I think that there is something to be said about having a perspective of an older woman who has been through so much. And Molly shows endurance, determination. She shows a willingness to strive to be better and to improve her life. And even though she is this hard as nails character, she's got this beautifully soft side for her little sister who, she doesn't have a relationship with, but goes to her football games every week and cheers her on. And like, it's ridiculously beautiful. I loved Molly. What did you think of Molly?
I also loved her. And I agree with what you said. Like, I love being able to read books about people my own age. And I know that that's like a huge thing just with people in general, like being able to see yourself in characters, and whether that be your skin tone, like your skin color, or your like sexual orientation, or your gender identity, or your age. I mean, that is just so important. And too often we do see a lot of people in their 20s or their teens, because it is such an age that people just idolize and like want to always be,
Yeah.
But I like when they are in their 30s, because it is such an age that you are more mature. You've been through the 20s, you've been through when you thought you knew everything and you really just don't. And your brain's not fully developed yet, and you're still reckless and doing the crazy shit. And now you're coming out of that and you're realizing, wow, I didn't know everything. And now you have to figure it all out. And I love being able to see that in characters. And I also love too that with her, even when she was young, before she went into all this trauma, she was so mature for her age and so willing to just do everything to protect her little sister. And I thought that that was so important. And we got that too in Hunting Adeline through the journal, because that was one of the things that Addie really like connected with when she was reading it. But I just really loved that. And I loved how passionate she was and how she kept to that the whole book. And even though like she knew that her sister got to a better place and she knew that she was happy, that never deterred her from still caring so much and coming back and risking everything to still making sure that her sister was happy, her sister was good, and still just kind of being that little guardian angel for her, even though she didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
And I
No, I
just really, really loved that. And I loved how fleshed out she was and how just overall such a great character she was.
yeah. You could definitely tell that when H.G. Carlton was setting up her universe, Molly was clearly someone who was always going to be in the picture. Like you
Yeah.
could tell from the way she was written.
And
However,
I love when authors do that because you can tell.
yeah, 100%.
Like with the Hunger Games, like the author of the Hunger Games does that with every single character. Like she could write a book on every single character that is mentioned in
Mm,
that series. And you can really tell like how H.D. Carlton did the same thing where even though Molly was just some character on a page in a journal, she really was so fleshed out that she was able to write this book and make her so detailed and described and so well fleshed out in such a short book.
yeah, 100%. However, then
This
we
is
move.
where we differ, so it's
This
fine.
is
Go
where we.
ahead.
Yeah, so then we have Cage. First of all, what is that fucking name?
I mean, if you really want to get into it, though, you also have Zaid. Zaid's not that great of a name either.
I think Zaid's a really hot name. I think Zaid,
I
Zayden,
feel like they're
Zephyr.
on the same spectrum of names, though.
Yeah,
Like,
Cage. I don't. Maybe it's an Australian thing. I've never heard the name Cage before, and like to me, it just sounds like a cage. And I'm like, why? Why is his name Cage? But anyways, I digress. What the fuck was that? What the fuck was that? Cage was a discounted version of Zaid. Cage was the same character. His voice, like everything he said, was so similar to what Zaid said, especially in the bedroom. Like everything he said just
yeah,
sounded exactly like Zaid. And I think if you love Zaid and you loved Hunting and Haunting, obviously this book is going to give you exactly what you want in the fact that you want Zaid again. But for me, I was like, this is the exact same person. It's the exact same. It's the same person in a different font, basically. He was like the discounted version. Like, he was the black and gold. He was the, I don't know, the name brand instead of like the good brand. Um, I think he brought the book down for me so much because he just wasn't fleshed out enough. He didn't add to the story. He actually confused me a lot. Like everything he did confused me and didn't make sense to me. I didn't understand it. There was an opportunity there, in my opinion. And again, this is no hate to the author. It's just what I would have done in this situation to
yeah,
to create someone who was really sunshine to Molly's grumpy. Because
yeah,
you could consider him sunshine, but he's not. He's morally grey. He has that same tone as Zaid. He's in the same sort of industry. He's that obsessive weirdo kind of vibe like Zaid was, but not as good. But like there was this opportunity, in my opinion, to have Molly be this super guarded, strong, independent woman, which is what she is, and she's a fantastic character, and have someone completely opposite to her, someone sunshine, someone who does help people
yeah.
get out of the country and does do all of these wonderful things for people who've been abused and who've been trafficked, but in such a sunshine, fun way. Like
I don't think it would have worked.
I needed something else from that pace. It was not
Yeah,
good for me. It
I
was
know.
just like reading Hunting and Haunting again, but not as good, in my
I
opinion.
don't think a real sunshiny guy would have worked.
See, I do. He could have still been really spicy and really sexy. He could have been.
Yeah. No,
He
no, I
could have.
agree. I just think that with their jobs and with her personality with their jobs and with like what he was supposed to be, I don't think like really, really sunny kind of personality would have worked. Like I think he still needed to be dark because I think with the field that they're in, I don't
Mm.
think that you can be really, 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 really sunny.
Maybe I should
Like, I
rephrase
think he could
that.
have been a little bit more upbeat, maybe,
I
but
think
I don't know that
upbeat.
his personality could have been
I don't
that.
think like true sunshine is probably what I'm looking for. Like true sunshine to me would be a romance book, right? But I think he could
Yeah,
have been questionably moral. Like he could have questionable
yeah.
morals. He could have been sarcastic. He could have been more fun. He could have been
Well, see,
upbeat.
I got the sarcasm
I just
because
didn't.
I wrote that because I liked the innuendos. I loved that. That was one of the things that I really liked was all the sexual innuendos.
Well,
I
tell me about Cage. Come on, give me your opinion.
well, you know that I love a good innuendo. So I did, that was one of the things I liked. Like when they were talking about pizza, because she had never had pizza before. And when they first met, that was like one of the things that she had tried for the first time with him. So one of the things he said was like, let's go stuff that pretty little mouth. And he met with the pizza, but like, and so like I loved that. I loved that little quirkiness to him where like there was always that little bit of like a zinger to the things that he said.
Yeah,
And like that was just one that I wrote down because that one was like, you know.
yeah,
um but like he had those little like one-liners in there that she was like that like pissed her off, but that I'm over here like, hey, yep. Loved that. Um but and I know I texted you this too. I loved the little ghost. And when you're saying like discounted Zayd, I get it in that aspect, like little mouse, little ghost, but I loved it. I was like, hell yeah, call me a little ghost. Yup. But yeah, I do get that, like where it is the same in that sense. Like, okay, we could have come up with a better nickname. Like Ghost was perfect because she was supposed to be getting away and getting out of the country and disappearing.
yeah,
Um, but in the sense of like you just use Little Mouse for 2 books, it is kind of the same in that sense.
yeah.
Um, what else did I write down? I loved that he like introduced her to his mom and his mom was fucking hilarious.
Oh, his mum was so good. She was a great character. I
I
want
know
her.
that this is like more about her than about him, but like I loved that whole dynamic and even like how he treated his mom. Like I loved that too, which I
Yeah,
know was also kind of a Zayd thing. Like she's got a thing with men and their moms. Um, especially with like the flowers. But I don't know. Like there was something about this one, and maybe it's because the mom was actually present. I
yeah,
liked it more.
yeah,
Where like Zayd's mom wasn't present, so like that was different. Like it really didn't, not that it didn't matter. The roses were important, but like this was to a different level because he still to this day was buying his mom flowers all the time. Was
yeah.
still giving them to her. And then now this was like a second person that he was giving flowers to all the time. And I just like really loved that.
Mm.
So like there were those little things to me that were like really sweet and cute. And then he had that sarcasm, that like those sexual innuendos that I was just like, yes, let's do it. Like loved it. But I do see what you're saying too, like with the like where there are those, I wouldn't say discounted because like I thought like some of them were like a little bit better. But I
Yeah,
do see a lot of similarities between the two. Um,
yeah.
but I do disagree about the sunshine part because I can't see that. I
I
can't see him being sunshiny.
yeah. I think if you really enjoyed Haunting and Hunting, you just finished them and you wanted to jump straight back
Yeah.
into that world and get that exact same vibe, this book would be perfect. Like if I was still in my Hunting and
Yeah.
Hunting era, I think I would have enjoyed this a lot more. But coming back to it after reading a lot of other dark romances and just knowing what's out there, I just didn't enjoy it as much. And I'm disappointed that I
Yeah.
did. But there were so many aspects that I did like. So,
Mhm.
and
And I can see that because like to me it was almost nostalgia. Like
yeah,
it was like we're back into this world again. I missed
yeah,
it. Missed that. And like I said, I did I'm disappointed we didn't get as much Addie and Zayd. So that was like a little bit of a nostalgia for me, that like there were those similarities that I could pinpoint and pick out, even though there were the nuances that were a little bit different.
Yeah. It does make you excited though to think that maybe there's so much more untold story that we would get. Like, I think that was really smart, but that's probably talking more about the story, isn't it? But I have to say, like, Molly was amazing, and like I said, like I really, really loved having a more mature character. So unfortunately, I am only going to give the characters a 2 out of 5, simply because I just didn't like Cage at all. I thought that he was way too two-dimensional and he wasn't fleshed out enough.
I'm going to go with a 4.
Love it.
Sorry, not sorry.
Fucking Gemini.
Fine, because we're going to talk about the other book in a little bit, and it's going to be different there too, so it's okay.
It's so different. Oh my god. I love what I've written here. Was there really a plot? I honestly, if you can tell me the plot of that book, I would really love it.
No.
Like, to me, this was more of like a learning about Molly and her past, and really like the plot was really spice driven.
I think that it was more spice driven, and I think, like you said, it was character driven to learn about who Molly was, because we wanted more. I genuinely think that we just got this because we wanted more of the Haunting Adeline universe.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping, based on the ending, that it's just a setup into the more that we can get.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was a perfect transition book into what the future holds for this universe, if H.D. Carlton decides to go for it, because it really is that perfect transition into the next series of however many that she might want to do, you know? So I don't necessarily think that there was much of a real plot, as there was more of a transition, getting to know this character that made such a huge difference in Hunting Adeline, to then move the whole storyline forward to the next setting. Yeah.
And she was such an important role in Hunting Adeline. So I think that was a treat that we got to see her background and who she was before she was trafficked, which wasn't a good life. It was horrible.
No.
So I think it was
I think that was important, because we saw Addie's side, where Addie had a great life beforehand.
Yeah.
And it is important to see that while some people might have a great life and go into this, not everyone does. And it is important to know that, like, some people have crappy lives, but this still isn't a good life for them to go into, even if their life is crappy. Like, it doesn't make it better just because their life was shitty before too.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's a common misconception, is like, their life was already shitty, so what, like, this isn't, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like a lot of people are like, well, at least now, like, they have a better home, or like they're being fed more or whatever. And like, no, like, it's still just as shitty, if not worse. Like, and I think that that's an important story to be told on top of it too.
Yeah.
And it's important to see, like, even though this really wasn't, like you said, a plot-driven story, it's an important message to have, especially with H.D. Carlton, how I feel like she's talked to so many survivors. Like, it's very obvious that she's talked to survivors, and I know we've talked about it on the other podcasts that we've done. It's just very important that she tells those stories, and I think that this was one of them. Like, this was a story that she must have talked to a survivor about and felt that it was important to share.
100%. And yeah, just touching on that again, it is such an important story to share, especially as women. And I think H.D. Carlton copped so much shit for her stories because of this dubious consent and this like rape ideology. And we've talked about this on the other podcast, but I think it is important we bring it up again and talk about how those sexual power dynamics, although, you know, Haunting Adeline really was a rape scene, it is a book and it is a work of fiction. And for people who have been in situations where they have been sexually assaulted, to read about them can be incredibly empowering, and to play them out in role play can also be incredibly helpful for people's trauma and people's trauma responses. And, you know, we've talked about this before, but it can really help people. And I think, especially in the book community, there are a lot of very closed-minded people who really don't understand the power of having autonomy over your body and having autonomy over what you choose, even if for someone else it's not what they would consider to be romantic or something that would appeal to them. For someone else, it can be not only sexually liberating, but incredibly freeing from other aspects of their life and other aspects of their trauma. So I think in that sense, these books are so important. And like you just said, telling someone's story in a work of fiction is so beautiful. And to know that Molly had a bad life, but she turned it around and made it her own life is, again, so powerful.
Absolutely.
We need more stories like this because they create these conversations where people become less closed-minded because of them.
Absolutely. And it is too important, like you said, with people's healing as well. Like, because not everybody heals the same way. Like after, especially when you go through trauma like that, you're not going to want to, like, I don't like hugs, you know, like there are certain times I don't want to be touched. And like, so people automatically assume that you always want to be like loved and touched and sweetness. And sometimes you don't, sometimes you can't, sometimes that's too much and too overwhelming. And so like, reading stories like this and understanding that sometimes this is healing for people and this is important to them, and understanding what helps them is just as important as anything else. And so having those conversations and being open-minded and understanding that not everybody is the same is just as important as understanding as well that those certain scenes in these books should not be repeated. They, like, obviously, we're not here to say, like, yes, go out and be Zayd. No, absolutely not. Do not go out and stalk somebody. Like,
nobody wants.
Exactly. But in a safe and controlled environment that a victim feels comfortable and it is two consenting adults is much different than a real stalker victim scenario.
100%. Yeah, and for some people, it's the only way that they can obtain safe CNC is through fiction. And I think that that is very fair and very valid, and we should not invalidate people's sexual preferences. I think that's really silly, unless you're a pedophile, in which case you can die in a fire.
100%.
Where we stand, we hate pedophiles.
Always and forever.
Always and forever. So I mean, what did you rate the non-existent plot?
I mean, this is where I struggle because no, there wasn't a plot, but in the grand scheme of things, I think this was very important to move the whole story forward. But if it's where it ends, then my rating would be a lot different than if it's a continuation. 100%. So I don't know that we can necessarily rate this.
Yeah, I think as far as like, story goes, like maybe not a plot, but a story, I think it was a really good story. Like I think those flashbacks and getting to learn about Molly and, you know, getting to see the richness of her character. Like if we were just basing this on a plot, I would say very low score. But if we were basing it on the story and learning more about Molly and, like we just talked about, bringing awareness to trafficking and women's rights and everything that we should be discussing in this day and age, I think it probably would be a 4 for me.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
See, that was the spice. So that first sex scene, like, really it got me good. I was like, you know, I knew what I was getting myself into. With a H.G. Carlton book, you know that you're getting yourself into some fucked up shit. But I think it was an extra level of just like cooked, because we've got like pigs spraying blood all over Molly's chest, and she's getting railed by Cage, and I was just like, what am I reading? Like, did I enjoy it? Yes. Was I confused?
I was gonna say, don't tell me you didn't.
No, you know me. If there's spice, I'm like, but I did recoil a few times. I was like, oh, how are they enjoying that? There's like pigs, like not pig's blood, human blood, like spraying on her chest while she, yeah, it was a lot. But you know, it was good. This book, like both of her other books that I've read, both of the Adeline books, felt like a dream. Like, I feel like you go into those books and I think this is something that H.D. Carlton does well. Like, the way she writes, I just go into it and lose myself entirely. And I'm just like, so, like, I just get so enveloped in the story that I forget reality. And I think that's what this book did to me, because I read it in 2 days. And I'm a pretty slow reader. But I read it in 2 days and I was like, what? What just happened?
I was a little freaked out by the pigs, because the whole time I'm like, but I'm a weirdo and I read books like Petite Mort, and the whole time I'm like, are the pigs gonna like eat them? Like, are they gonna get bit in the middle of this? Like, I was really afraid that the pigs were gonna bite them. And so like I had a hard time enjoying it, because I'm like, are they gonna get bit? Like,
Yeah.
are the pigs gonna join in? Like, I was really waiting for like a weird like bestiality scene. Like, it was already on the borderline. So I was really, really, really like, what is about to happen? That I had a really hard time enjoying that as much as I probably would have had the pigs not been there. Like, if it was just like, let's kill these people and then like have sex in their blood, it might have been a different vibe for me than the fact that like the pigs were like right there, because I was really, really afraid of where we were going with it. And I just like couldn't focus, to be quite honest.
Well, she does say in the beginning, she's like, I can't remember her exact words, but it was something along the lines of, I hope they never get out because I'm dead if they do.
Right. Exactly. And that's all I could think about is like, is she going to get eaten by these pigs?
Valid. Valid response. Yeah, so like that was it was a lot to get through. And I'm sure you'll agree with this too, but I really enjoyed their first time together. I felt like there was so much choice for her and so many times for her to back out, and all of it was on, like, it was all at her pace and on her terms, which to me was really nice. And I think
he's a good guy.
He's very sweet. Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with Cage, like, objectively. Like, he is a great character, but because I've read the other books, I'm like,
I know. I get it.
But I think the way he cared for her was so sweet. Like, obviously H.D. Carlton's brand of sweet, which is kind of
right.
But like, I think that he really empowered her that first time, and the fact that stuck with him for 12 years and then stuck with her, and it was like, oh, that's kind of cute. So yeah, I definitely enjoyed the spice. Like, can you not enjoy H.D. Carlton spice? Because I always enjoy it.
I know.
Like, prove me wrong.
No, I don't need to. I agree.
What about you? Any scenes that you particularly loved?
I love the first time that they were together. That was my favorite. And then, like I said, I just love the innuendos. The innuendos go for me every time. So, like, they're not necessarily like, I don't know, like, for me, it's all about the buildup. Like, so, like, it's like the teasing and like the innuendos and like the little things here and there that you know it's going to happen soon. Like that tension and the buildup and the like leading up to it that like gets me so much more than like the actual. Like, the actual spice is great, but it's the buildup for me that, like, is so much more important.
Yeah. That's nice. Giggling and kicking my feet. I would rate the spice 5 out of 5. Like, H.D. Carlton's brand of spice is just too good. It's unmatched, in my opinion.
I'm going to go a 4.5 just because I was a little weirded out by that, by the pigs.
I love that. I love that you're like, not the pigs.
Yeah, the pigs are a little much for me. All right, so the pace. What are we thinking about the pace?
I mean, I think it was pretty good. I think my what's the word, rating of pace is based on how quickly I can read a book. Because if the
Yeah.
pace is good, I'm reading it really quick. And I think HD Carlton's writing really pushes you to finish a book quickly. So I think the pace was great. I think it was really cool that we were switching between present day and past and getting Molly's really awesome story. So I think the pace was really good. I enjoyed it.
I loved it. I did. I honestly would like to read it again in a sense, just because like I'm just not ready to end the world. I just want my world to stay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I liked that this one wasn't so traumatic. So like it
Yeah.
was so like this was like that little like happy medium where it was still a little bit weird and like still in that world, but not so
Not the rape scenes and
yeah.
the awful hunting through the woods and stuff. Ugh,
But
yuck.
also like I would have liked a little bit not I don't want more of that, but I would have liked to know more of Molly's story in that sense
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's definitely opportunity to
to
do.
build on it. And I'm hoping that she does.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like you said before, she's really set us up for potentially all of those characters coming together.
Yeah,
Something really awesome happening, but then you never know. I never know with authors anymore.
I know.
I don't know what's going on.
I hope so, but we'll see.
So yeah, I would definitely give the pace probably like 4 out of 5. Yeah, I thought it was really good.
Yeah. I would say a 5 out of 5.
Nice.
All
Overall,
right, so
oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I'm just too excited. I've had my I had a massive mug of tea and now I'm like
Wah, wah. All right, overall, go for it.
okay. So, I really love HD Carlton's writing style. I find her books easy to digest and I think it's easy to get into her storylines. I'm sure lots of people will agree with me. There's a reason she's a bestseller.
Yeah.
I loved that we got the maturity of Molly and those amazing glimpses of her traumatic past without the trauma of actually reading about it again. I don't think that I could ever read Hunting Adeline again, if I'm being honest with you, especially now that it's been a while. It's probably been like a good year since I read it, and I honestly don't think I could do it again. However, Cage felt so flat for me, and I really felt like it ruined the whole story. Just his vibe just was too similar to Zaid's, and it was just too monotone, and yeah, it just didn't have enough for me. I wish that there was some way he could have been weaved into the story rather than being a main character. Like, I think it would have been nice if he was someone who was there and someone who was a lover, someone who had great spice, but without his story. I think I just didn't like him. I'm sorry. But yeah,
You're allowed to not like him.
I think like I said before, like the grumpy sunshine, and I've even got it in brackets here. I've said proper sunshine, not Cage's obsessive weirdo sunshine, because I think he was in a sense a bit sunshiny, but he wasn't quite right. I think if he was like proper,
He was trying, yeah.
I think if he was proper sunshine, but in a way that worked in HD Carlton's world, so like that sarcastic sunshine that, you know, took everything on the chin and was this really strong and sometimes serious person, but with her was this sunshine character, I just think it would have been a completely different story and it would have made me fall in love with both of them. For like overall ratings, I'd give this a 3 out of 5. It wasn't bad, it was enjoyable, and I would definitely recommend it if you're a dark romance lover. You will enjoy it.
Yeah. All right. So for me, it's a 4 out of 5. I again agree with you. I really love her writing style. Also really loved the fact that it was a quick read. For me, it was just the fact that it's partially my fault. I went in thinking it was going to be something different than it was. And so I went in disappointed, but also I think that it was a transition book. So for me, it really wasn't much of a plot or a storyline in the sense of a traditional storyline. I feel like it was a novella to transition to the potential for more Zayd and Addie in the future. And I think that it was very good in what it was and what the story itself actually was. I just wish that there was more Zayd and Addie, and I wish that there was more of that and more of a plot to it.
Yeah.
And for me, it kind of just felt like a bit of just like a rushed story to appease us, to give us what we wanted because we wanted more than actually like giving us a real full story that could have happened if we didn't kind of push her to. Like if we
Yeah.
gave her the time to fully develop this, I feel like it would have been much better than us like constantly like give it. And then it kind of
Yeah.
like fell flat there for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like looking online, you know me, I like to look up the reviews after I read a book. It was a lot of that. A lot of people said it just fell so flat for them. So
Yeah.
it sucks that she felt pressured that she had to write it so quickly.
Yeah.
But hey.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of how it felt to me.
No, I'm pretty sure like her father passed last year and it felt I think for a lot of this community, they're very demanding.
Yeah.
And they want things quickly. And like even though we laugh and joke about like Cat Blackthorn making a full-length book and being really irritating, like neither of us are like in Cat's inbox being like, write the fucking book. But I feel like there are a lot of people really expect that. And I think that's something that the book talk and bookish bookstagram community really need to get better at. It's
true. Yeah.
It's a lot of demands and a lot of you owe me this when no one owes anyone anything. And like if you want a good story, maybe you need to wait. But yeah, I think H.D. Carlton's father passing probably had a lot to do with her not wanting to write for such a long time. Yeah. And I think we need to give authors space. They're humans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we do forget that a lot too.
We do.
As a community. Not us, but like as a community.
Yeah, no, 100%. And in this day and age as well, we're so used to getting everything in an instant. And books don't come in an instant unless you get a fucking AI computer to write it, which I hope nobody ever does. But, you know, like, I think we expect things at a rapid pace, and some people's brains don't operate that way. Some authors are fucking pushing out books like there's no tomorrow, and that's great, but not everyone can do that. And I'm pretty sure, is H.D. Carlton self-published as well?
I think so.
I think so too.
I want to say yeah.
So, again, like an extra...
Also, look at this. How pretty.
Oh, is that Molly? Oh, that's exactly how I pictured her.
Right?
Oh, that's beautiful. Is there one of Kate?
Also, all the art is done by Tiny Human Art. I love her.
Oh, somebody sent me one of HD's pictures today and they were like, is this AI art? And I was like zooming in on all of it and I was like, it's definitely not. It was a proper portrait. I don't think I've ever seen her share AI art, which is so good. Because I literally just saw Jessie Hall, was that her name? The one who does That Sick Love? She's just shared AI art. Because someone sent it to me and they were like, is this AI? And I was like, let me zoom in on that. So AI. I sent it back to them with all of like my circles on what was AI about it.
That's very disappointing.
Very disappointing. And apparently she has been told multiple times by a lot of different people in the community, hey, maybe you shouldn't share this. It is AI. And she's still done it. So.
That's disappointing.
It's so disappointing. Definitely puts a bad taste in your mouth. Anyways, that's enough complaining from us.
Yup.
We will see you guys in a fortnight. That's 2 weeks for my American friends. Again, make sure that you follow our socials and keep up on book club in time for these deep dives. We love to have a chat in the comments, so feel free to reach out. See you soon. Love you, good girls.
Bye.